All right, everyone, get ready to dive deep as we explore a pretty crucial part of the AI world today. That's right, the race to build the most powerful infrastructure. We've got some reports from AI Deep Dive hinting at some, let's just say, interesting moves by Microsoft and OpenAI.
Definitely interesting. And it'll be fascinating to see how these behind the scenes developments, the nuts and bolts of AI, end up impacting the entire field's progress.
Absolutely. So first things first, there's this buzz going around, right, that Microsoft and OpenAI might have cracked the code on multi-data center AI training for their large language models, or LLMs for short.
And LLMs, just in case someone's not familiar, those are essentially the AI engines powering things like, oh, I don't know, ChatGPT, for instance.
Precisely. And what makes this a big deal is because, well, training these massive AI models, it takes a crazy amount of computing power. I mean, it's insane, really. So usually companies are stuck using just one data center.
Right, exactly. So if Microsoft and OpenAI have actually found a way to link multiple data centers together, it could be, well, a total game changer.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty, shall we? One researcher, Dylan Patel, he's suggesting that Microsoft's been pouring billions, and I mean billions, into fiber optic connections between their data centers.
And not just that, get this. There are permits on file, real permits, for some heavy-duty excavation between these facilities. It's like they're building a secret underground network to move massive amounts of data around. Wild, right?
Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. But it really speaks to the sheer scale of what they might be trying to achieve.
Oh, absolutely. And the energy consumption. Let's talk about that for a second. Patel, he estimates it could hit a gigawatt or even more. To put that into perspective, that's enough to power like a small city for a whole year.
Whoa, okay. Yeah, that puts things into perspective for sure.
It really highlights just how many resources are needed to push AI to its limits, and it raises some serious questions about sustainability, no doubt.
Absolutely. And, while Microsoft seems to be building this AI empire, there's been some drama over at OpenAI. Word on the street is that some big names have recently left the company.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a brain drain, you could say. And some people, they think it might have something to do with OpenAI's shifting focus, moving away from just research and towards a more commercialized approach, which, might not sit well with all the researchers.
That makes sense. When you're dealing with cutting-edge technology, there's always going to be some tension between pushing the boundaries of what's possible and, well, tuning a profit.
For sure. And adding to the drama, there are whispers that OpenAI's CFO isn't too thrilled with how fast Microsoft is delivering computing power. Apparently, they're not moving fast enough for OpenAI's liking.
So even giants like Microsoft, they're not immune to these growing pains, huh?
It seems that way. I mean, it really highlights just how complex and costly it is to develop AI at this scale. And the financial risks, oh boy, they're huge. One analyst even went so far as to downgrade Microsoft, saying that OpenAI's losses could balloon to I'm talking billions of dollars by 2025.
Yikes. Okay, so we're talking about a whole different level of financial risk here. But it does make you wonder, right? Where's all this heading? Are we going to see an AI industry dominated by just a few powerful players? Or will smaller companies still have a fighting chance?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that we'll likely be grappling with for years to come. It'll be interesting to see how this balance between massive investments and sustainable growth plays out.
For sure. Now, speaking of navigating the complexities of AI, let's switch gears for a moment and talk about Adobe. Because while all this is going on, they're taking a different approach, focusing on the ethical challenges that come with AI, especially when it comes to protecting creative work.
And it's about time, honestly. This is a huge issue. What with the rise of AI-generated content and the growing concern over deepfakes and all that, someone needs to address this.
It's like everyone's caught up in this AI gold rush, but Adobe's over here saying, hold on a sec, let's make sure we're not leaving artists and creators in the dust.
Exactly. It's refreshing, isn't it? And you know what they're doing. They're launching this new web app. It's called Content Credentials, and it's basically like a digital fingerprint for art.
Okay, a digital fingerprint, huh? So how does that work exactly?
So imagine this. You embed information about a piece of art, like its origins, who made it when, and even its edit history, directly into the file itself.
Interesting. So you can always trace it back, see if it's the real deal or, AI generated.
Exactly. And get this, it even lets creators decide if they want their work used to train AI models.
Oh, wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because that's been a major concern for artists, right? Their work being used without permission to train these AI systems.
Exactly. It's like finally giving creators some control in this whole AI-generated content explosion.
Totally. It's like setting some boundaries, some ethical ground rules for how AI interacts with human creativity.
Right. It's acknowledging that even with AI, human creativity still matters. It has value. And it sets a precedent for being transparent about how AI models are trained.
Absolutely. This actually makes you wonder, though, are there any connections between these ethical concerns and that potential AI bubble we were talking about earlier? Like, are they linked in some way?
That's a really sharp observation because when you think about it, concerns about an AI bubble, they often come from this feeling that the technology is developing way faster than actual tangible results.
Right, like it's outpacing itself.
Exactly. And that we haven't figured out the ethical side of things yet. And what Adobe's doing, it's like a direct response to that, trying to establish those ethical frameworks early on.
So they're kind of setting an example maybe for the rest of the industry.
Precisely. Showing that, hey, ethics aren't something you just tack on at the end. It's something you build into the process from the beginning.
I like that. It's a good message. And speaking of using AI for good, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about Uber.
Mhm.
Because they're going green, and guess what? They're using OpenAI to help them do it.
Oh, really? With an AI assistant, right, to help their drivers switch to electric vehicles.
Yep, that's the one. And it's powered by GPT-4, no less.
Interesting. Especially considering, well, the potential tension between OpenAI and Microsoft that we talked about earlier. But I guess in this case, they're using GPT-4 for a good cause, right? Solving a real-world problem.
Exactly. It's not just some flashy tech demo. They're actually trying to make a difference with it,
Yeah.
to get more electric vehicles on the road.
And how does this AI assistant work exactly?
Well, think of it like this. It's a chatbot, right? But it's specifically designed to be an Uber driver's go-to guide for everything EV-related. So it answers questions about electric vehicles, provides information on incentives for switching in specific cities, and it can even connect drivers with other drivers who already use electric vehicles through, get this, a mentorship program.
Oh, wow, a mentorship program. That's pretty cool.
Right. It's like a support system built right in. And according to Uber, their drivers are already switching to EVs 5 times faster than the average driver out there. So this AI assistant is only going to speed things up.
Impressive. Sounds like a win-win for everyone involved.
Right. It seems like we're seeing two sides of the AI coin here, don't you think? On the one hand, you have the potential for, well, huge resource consumption, ethical dilemmas, all that. And then on the other hand, you've got initiatives like what Adobe and Uber are doing, trying to use AI for positive change.
Absolutely. It just goes to show how powerful this technology is and the responsibility that comes with it. We get to decide how AI shapes our world.
It all comes back to balance, right? Balancing the potential of AI with, well, the very real concerns that come with it. Speaking of balance, though, remember that analyst who predicted that OpenAI could lose, like, billions of dollars?
Oh, yeah. Can't forget that. It definitely threw a wrench into everyone's plans for AI's financial future.
Right. And then you add in those reports of investors getting antsy, wanting to see AI products rolling out faster. And you have to wonder, are we getting ahead of ourselves with all this?
Are we buying into the hype a little too much? Maybe. I mean, let's be real. Widespread use of AI, it's been kind of slow so far.
Yeah, it's not like AI is everywhere yet, even though it feels like it sometimes.
Exactly. Integrating it into businesses, into how we do things, it takes time and money and, honestly, a whole lot of trust.
Because it's not just about flipping a switch, is it? You're right. Businesses need to adapt, people need training, and they need to feel comfortable using this new technology.
It's like we're in this weird phase where AI is all over the news, but a lot of people are still trying to figure out what it actually means for them, how they're supposed to use it.
So how do we tell the difference between the hype, the AI hype train, and the actual warning signs of, say, an AI bubble?
That's the million-dollar question. I wish I had a crystal ball for that one. But there are some red flags we can keep an eye out for.
Okay, so what should we be looking for?
Well, first things first, be careful of any claims that sound too good to be true. The ones that promise AI will solve all our problems overnight, or that robots are going to take over our jobs tomorrow.
So a healthy dose of skepticism is always good.
Definitely. And another thing, pay attention to the gap between a company's valuation and their actual revenue. If they're valued sky high but haven't really made any money from their AI stuff yet, well, that could be a warning sign.
So it's like investing based on what potential instead of actual performance.
Exactly. And lastly, keep an eye on the talent pool. If there's a mad rush of people and money pouring into AI, but without a real understanding of what it can and can't do, its limitations.
It could lead to unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
And then disappointment.
Precisely. We need to be excited about AI, yes, but we also need to be realistic.
Find that sweet spot between, like, AI is going to change the world and, okay, let's be grounded here.
Exactly, because AI has incredible potential, but we need to approach it with a healthy dose of, let's say, cautious optimism.
Love that. Cautious optimism. Got to remember that one.
Right, because the more informed we are, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this whole AI revolution.
It's like we're walking this tightrope between like, wow, AI could change everything, and hold on, are we sure we're ready for this? But hey, today's deep dive has also shown us some pretty inspiring stuff, right? I mean, who wouldn't want an AI assistant helping them go electric?
Right, talk about real-world solutions. And it's not just Uber doing this, you know? Remember Adobe and their whole thing about protecting creative work? Well, it turns out they're actually working directly with creators as they develop these tools.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Getting artists and designers involved from the get-go, that's crucial if you want to build something that actually works for them.
Exactly. And it sounds like Adobe's really listening to those concerns, you know? Giving creators the power to say whether or not their work can be used for AI training, that's a big deal. That's real progress in terms of ethical AI development.
It really is. It's great to see a company like Adobe stepping up and taking a stand like that.
And they're not just talking about it either. They've been putting in the work. They actually co-founded this thing called the Content Authenticity Initiative back in 2019. And get this, it now has over 30,700 members, including some major players in the tech and media world.
Wow, that's amazing. It really shows that this isn't just a niche issue anymore, right? Content authenticity is becoming a top priority for a lot of companies in the age of AI.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, it's about establishing clear rules, ethical guidelines, especially when you're dealing with stuff like copyright, ownership, and giving credit where credit is due. You know, the basics.
It's like we're all finally realizing, hey, this whole AI thing, it comes with responsibilities.
Yeah.
We can't just unleash it into the world without thinking about the consequences.
Exactly. We need to figure out the rules of the game before things get out of hand.
Couldn't say it better myself. Well, folks, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with something to think about. As you go about your day, interacting with technology in all its forms, take a moment to think about the role AI is already playing in your life. Are you excited about what it could bring? Do you have concerns about where it's headed? Whatever your stance, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged in this conversation. Because the future of AI isn't something that's going to be decided for us. It's something we're all going to shape together.